In this video, I want to do a follow-up to the previous video that I released last week around CPTSD and some of my childhood trauma that I shared with you guys. The fact that you guys have been so receptive towards it, and so I've received some really lovely messages, and just the response for it to get what it was really kind of shocked me. So thank you very much. So less babbling. Today's video is about the inner critic. What makes life what it is? Let me try that again. Life is an ongoing commentary by everyone. If we didn't have human beings there to create some kind of story or meaning behind the things that we encounter in life, what would? Say, for example, you wake up, it's raining, you got to walk to work, it's like, ugh, it's a bit miserable, it's dull. You will be creating some kind of commentary on whether that's good for you, whether that's bad for you, what it means for your day, what it means for your life. It's this ongoing commentary that creates all of the narrative, all of the wraparound to your experience. If you take away all the commentary, if you take away all those thoughts, what's left? From my understanding, it's just being. It is the being part of human being. It is just being. There's nothing to think about. There's nothing to worry about. There's nothing to talk about. It just is. Now, the inner critic, I would like to say, is a commentator on steroids. I'll give you an example. Most times when when my head is very, very active and I'm not aware of the thought processes going through my head, thoughts will come into my head at about this speed. I'm really not shitting you. And you guys might experience this as well. It's like, it's coming from all of these different directions. And it's almost quite dizzying and perplexing trying to keep up with it all. All of these little voices and all of these comments is this inner critic that is assessing every move you make, every decision you take, everything you say. Everything you do is just being assessed and go, no, you're doing that wrong. You should have done this. You should have done that. Here's the problem with the inner critic when it comes to wanting to do anything with your life. You decide to go with a particular hobby. You could decide to go for a particular job. It all starts off and you're all on your same side. It's like, yeah, this seems like a great idea. But if that inner critic starts assessing your current position, you will want to 180 and change your mind more times than you can count. One moment you are so sure of something. You are so sure of that path. You are so sure of the direction. The next moment, you want to change it and completely do something different. When you have very little self-value, when you have very little self-confidence, which is also a big part of it, the inner critic runs you. One of the benefits of this is I ended up trying so many different things. Everything from radio presenting to music production to 3D to graphic design to programming to sales, IT engineering, cybersecurity, web design, so many different things because I didn't know what the hell I wanted. And it almost became a running joke with my friend. And it would just be like, oh, I really want to do this. I really want to do this. Oh, I want to be a TV presenter. I want to be this. I want to be that. I want to be this. I want to be that. All the time. Always trying to find where I should be going in life rather than just focusing on accepting where my life is at now. One of the nastiest aspects about the inner critic is I set a bar so high for myself. I put so much pressure on myself. And this is where it gets a little bit bizarre. I was so critical of myself that this is basically the narrative that ran in my head. This is what the inner critic, this is what the inner voice was feeding me. I have to save the entire world, every single person on it, that I had a secret or some kind of incredible piece of knowledge that they all must know, that I could individually, single-handedly create world peace. And if I could create world peace and create love and connection between every single human being on this planet, in every single country, in every single circumstance, then I will be loved. As you can imagine, that created an enormous amount of drive with my previous projects like Co-Action Collective, where I was basically living that narrative. But the problem was I wasn't in control. The narrative was in control. And that got really, really, really unhealthy. That was 24-hour days working. That was believing in just getting completely lost in my head. I was not grounded in reality whatsoever. My internal voice, this narrative, took over. Yes, it was exciting. Yes, it was a buzz. But I wanted to share that because sometimes we have such a big hustle culture. Hustle, 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 drive, 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 make your dreams. Why are you doing it? Are you doing it to fulfill some kind of narrative that, you know, is actually due to the fact that you have got some serious demons going on, and instead of facing those demons, your answer is to fix the world before you fix yourself? I think there is an album coming out from the Wombat, or has already came out, and it made me laugh because the title is so bang on. Fix yourself before fixing the world. It's no one's responsibility to fix each other, right? The only responsibility you have in this life is to do the best you possibly can for you, to do the most you possibly can for you, to build yourself into the best person you can be, and that all occurs within you. Look, I've been there. I have been in the place where I genuinely thought I had the answers for every single human being that lived. Insane God complex. My ego grew ridiculously. I'm almost ashamed with it. And I am learning to process and accept what happened to me. If you are run by a narrative and you believe what other people tell you, your thoughts, your inner critic, your inner dialogue can consume you, control you, and entrap you. I share this because this is all a very, very big part of PTSD, of mental trauma. It is a coping strategy, effectively. It's a very, very powerful coping strategy. You see, when the mind is in a difficult place, human beings can do some pretty big things to try and manage that. And I built a ton of coping mechanisms. I'm still discovering why that is, but I think there's a very big connection between films and TV because I think I used it as escapism, which is why I think my life basically became a film. It was so subtle how it started in the beginning. I feel like I'm bouncing between loads of different topics. There's obviously a lot that I want to talk about here. Film and TV and things like that, and the effect that had on me as a child, that escapism, but then the imprisonment it created. I think I'm probably going to leave for another video or maybe come back to it. Let me know if you want to hear more about that. Or alternatively, let me know in the comments if there's anything that, you know, I've explained today that you want to hear or I should go deeper on. This is such a deep topic, and I can rabbit hole in all these different directions, but I also want to make quite a concise and clear point about everything. The other thing about the inner critic is understanding, and this is something that I've learned throughout the process, is understanding thoughts and their relation to feelings and emotions. And some of the most powerful things I've learned in my experience is this: you are not your thoughts, you are not your emotions, you are not your feelings, you are not your ideas. They are a content of your experience. Through a bunch of spiritual teachers and a lot of studying and research and also just learning through my own experience, I've really started to identify how powerful it can become if you identify with a single thought for a single second. I could be recording this video right now. The inner critic could just slip an idea in the back of my mind, and that idea is, this is the worst video you've ever made. No one's going to watch this. It's all over the place. You shouldn't release this. Now, if I decide and say, yeah, that's true, it becomes true. So instead of it being an idea now, it is my reality before it's even happened. Therefore, I self-sabotage. I destroy the things I'm creating and go, nah, it was terrible. In fact, I noticed it happen earlier in this video where I was going on a rabbit hole and I immediately had this thought in the back of my head that says, you're going off topic. No one's going to want to watch this. I feel like I'm bouncing between loads of different topics. There's obviously a lot that I want to talk about here. And I identified with it. And the moment I identified with that, the risk is I could then self-destroy things and go, it's not good enough. And then you try and do it better. And then the voice comes up again and says, it's not good enough. And then you try to do it better. And then the voice comes up again and says, it's not good enough. But every single time you do it, every single time you say it's not good enough, it gets more and more and more intense. And this perfectionism every single time crippled me and made me feel like an emotional wreck. You have to weigh up on whether that's worth it. Is the cost of perfectionism worth it when effectively you are just whipping yourself over and over and over and over and over again for the sake of this perfect result, yet you cannot see it yourself? These are all traps by the inner critic. I want to make a very clear reminder that no matter what your head tells you, no matter what you think about yourself, no matter what idea you ever create about yourself as a human being, any idea in any way can ever get 1% or even a percent correct of your true nature, of who you truly are. Because what you truly are is so unbelievably beautiful and vast and complicated that the mind is basically a footnote on the incredible nature of what you are as a human being. Whatever ideas you ever perceive or create about yourself, know that it does not hold a light up to the reality of what you are. We live in a reality where the mind will never, ever be able to bring the logic and the mental power together to fully understand the existence of what life truly is, what consciousness is. No amount of science, no amount of research, no amount of development or concepts will ever be able to create that answer to what natural life is. Because it's almost like there is a barrier, that there is a ceiling that as human beings intellectually we will never be able to cross. Because what life truly is cannot be solved in the mind, it can only be solved in the heart. And it can only be solved in a language that cannot be written down, that cannot be communicated. It is discoverable for each and every one of us, and it is available to every single one of us. In fact, I would go as far to say that it is the ultimate destiny of every single one of us to learn the truth of what life is to us. And that doesn't happen with words. It doesn't happen with numbers or logic. It happens very deep in your soul, in your heart, deep down. You find it for yourself. The mind is a tool, but it was never, ever designed to summarize your entire existence and what makes up your entire existence. It is a paint-by-numbers guess of ideas and concepts to try and formulate and understand an infinitely complex reality that as human beings we can barely understand with our labels and concepts. The biggest thing that I can't do anymore is tell you that anything that I'm saying is correct or factual or true. All I can tell you is that it means so much deep down to me. It is my truth. Now, if that helps you find your truth, if that helps you discover what's right for you, then God bless you. That's absolutely incredible. But remember that we live in a reality with answers and shortcuts everywhere, and your map to your haven, to your nirvana, to your Valhalla, whatever it is, lies already in you, in your heart, and it always has from the very beginning. Sorry, no, I'm not going to say sorry. It's funny sometimes when I speak like that, it just consumes me, but it doesn't feel alien. It's like when I'm in that state, my soul is speaking through me, and it's something that I previously, I love just being in that flow. I love being in that flow. This is one of the reasons I love sitting and speaking on camera. It's just to get to that point of flow where my soul just sings. And I can feel it because everything that it says, I know in my heart, I know it for myself. I've got a lot of editing to do. I'm sure that there's probably some kind of coerced video like this. At least it's been a little bit lighter this week, especially over last week. I'm not quite sure what you're gonna get each week. You know, one week it might be super emotional and I might be in tears and all over the place. The next week I might be super fired up and having moments like this. But I honor the journey for what it is. I honor this process. I am so grateful that you're here. If you're watching this, thank you so much. Also, I've noticed that people have been liking my videos recently. Like, I know it's like a little thing, like it's just like, but honestly, it means a lot. Like when I've got my head telling me sometimes that this is the worst possible idea in the world, a little visual feedback can go a long way in helping me fight that voice, right? But where this channel goes, I've got no idea. That's just the beauty of it. I don't think it's going to remain in this format forever. It could go in so many different directions, and that's the exciting thing. This is just the seed. This is the very beginning. I'll see you later. Thank you for being here with me, and have a fantastic day wherever you are, whatever you do, and know that you are loved.